Here we have my STR-DE675 5.1 channel amp from Sony. I've had it since new. It must be maybe 15 years old by now. It's done a great job. It's had a few small minor repairs along the way. Had the infrared remote receiver fail, that was an easy fix. Also had some issues with the VFD display, but that was also an easy fix, just a resistor in series. So unfortunately I've got the infamous protect mode failure, which is what I'm going to try to attempt to repair. It's been a great amplifier, so I'd like to keep it going. It seems to be quite a common issue, and I've done a little bit of research, but hopefully yeah, we can get to the bottom of it and repair this one. So I've checked out the service manual. It's actually quite easy to check each channel individually. You'll see in here there are basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of transistors for each one for each channel. Also for each channel you have some resistors on those transistors. They've actually got really easy points to measure as well. You can see coming out the top there. Now I think there's something like 220 milliohms on each side, and I've gone through and I've measured them and they all seem okay, but I'm just going to check now with the amp on just to see what sort of voltage we see on these guys. We should see, well, close to 0 volt. Alright, so I'm just going to go through and read the voltages on each of those resistors. That might give us a hint as to where to look further. I'm just going to take chassis ground off the case there. Now I don't want to leave it turned on for too long, so I'll try and go through these pretty quickly. So we're just on DC voltage here. Start up this end. 50 millivolt, 50 millivolt, about 20 millivolt, 20 millivolt. Ooh, okay, so we've got minus 52.7 volt on that channel. I'll turn it off. So based on that alone, I'd say that this channel down the end here might have an issue. So we'll try and measure the transistors. Might just check that resistor again. So I'm just going to measure the resistance again. Should be about, I don't know, maybe 500 milliohm on both sides, considering the resistance of the multimeter. 500. Around about the same. So that looks like it's probably okay. So just going to measure the transistor, base to collector, 0.58, base to emitter, 0.6. Certainly not shorted out. We'll check the other guy. .6. Nope. 0.6. So the transistors look okay. Now I found it's actually not so difficult to pull the main board out and the heatsink. You can basically keep this whole structure together, and if you just isolate the appropriate connectors, you can just slide the whole section out, which is really kind of cool. Yeah, so that gives us really good access to the bottom of the PCB. And it's also very easy to slide it back in and give it a quick test. Pull it back out if you need to. Okay, you can see here I've isolated pins 4 and 5, which is the output of this power amp chip. Now, they are actually isolated. If I try and buzz it out, if I go on the pin, there's no connection. If I go on the pad there, you'll hear a connection. So I think I'll put it back together and give it a go and see if the protect mode goes away. So I'll just turn it on now, isolating those pins. That's where I think the high voltage is coming from. Let's see if that takes away the protection fault. You can hear the relays clicking in for the speaker output, so that seems to have fixed it, which I'm guessing now we're going to see very low voltage on that resistor. Don't know if you can see that, but yeah, it's next to nothing. So I think we're getting closer. Just poking around the board, I've noticed some pretty mad dry solder joints. I don't know if I'll be able to get them so clearly on the camera, but check out these guys here, right in the middle. So they're on the power amplifier chips for the front left and right, rear left and right. And these guys, they're barely holding on. So I can't imagine that'll have any impact on the issue that I'm having, but definitely going to go through and touch these all up. Seem to be mostly that top row, but even these guys are a bit quite dodgy. I mean, you can see that area must get quite hot just based on the colour of the PCB itself. It's sort of quite brown. So after all those solder touch-ups and a few other checks here and there, I put it all back together and still had the same problem. So took a good break, but came back a while later and finally found the problem with this amp. So I really hope that this information helps if you have a similar sort of diagnosis. What I found was none of the power amps were damaged in any way at all. It was more to do with the protection circuit. In my case, R732, which is a 1 ohm resistor, had simply gone open circuit. Swapping that out fixed everything. So for me, that was the magical solution. Just a 1 cent resistor. So I'll show you where it is. It's a little bit tricky to get to, but yeah, very, very easy fix. So yeah, amps up and running again. Fantastic news. And this here, it's a bit tricky to see, but that's the resistor location there, right underneath two bus bars or links or whatever you want to call them. Bit tricky to get to right in that gap, but that's it. 1 ohm resistor.
What you've been up to over the weekend? This is a Monsters Amendment.
We have sound, yay!